So you have to communicate. It makes me feel this way when you are late and you don't communicate. Everybody runs late, but I ask that you communicate with me. A lot of times we just let things slide and we don't address it. A lot of times men and people are non-confrontational in their mind, which which causes them to suppress things until it builds up and they explode. A lot of times we just don't know. We gotta learn how to communicate from the smallest things. Yeah, my pet peeve is being late. I don't like waiting on people, and I don't like people waiting on me,
Yeah.
and I make that known. You know.
And here we go. You're listening to the Kings Can Move On podcast with your hosts, Jason Stewart and Frank Rainey.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Kings Can Move On podcast. You have your co-host today, Big Frank the Tank, aka Big Reno. What's happening?
And you got your boy Wood, aka Lil J. And welcome on to the podcast. I'm only gonna do two tonight since you be clowning from my aka. Well, welcome to the podcast, everybody. And if you
Yeah.
listen to the podcast, you watch on YouTube, please subscribe and like. If you're on Apple or Spotify or Google, please follow and rate. We sure appreciate that. We need all the help we can get. So
Mhm.
anyway, good evening, my dude. How you doing?
Man, I'm just blessed and highly favored. How you doing today?
Ain't he good?
Come on, he do it.
All
Won't
the
he
time.
feel?
With that note, let me not tarry too long. So, and bring in our guest. We have a good friend of ours. We've actually collabed on their podcast before and back and forth. And she's on tonight without her co-host, but it is Mrs. Charita Threatt. So welcome to Charita.
Thank you, thank you. Glad to be on. Glad to be
Welcome,
on.
man.
Represent, inspire her, the total woman with red and feet. Yes,
Yeah.
Is
We
it
really.
okay if we call you Red?
absolutely.
All right. That's what I know you by. That's what you was introduced to us by, and that's it sticks.
And you
Yes.
actually had Frank on the podcast just on yours recently, trying to fix him. Wasn't you trying to fix a broken
What? I
man?
wouldn't call it that. We were just talking. Yeah, I don't think he's broken. We made that clear. But
Oh,
yes,
really?
we did give Frank some advice. Frank was very open and honest about sharing his experiences, and which a lot of men don't. So I definitely applaud you for that, Frank.
Thank you very much. And it was a pleasure being on y'all show. I enjoyed myself immensely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I heard the podcast, and it was a very good episode. It was very well done by you ladies. So
Thank you. Thank you.
And
so
you're gonna be on their podcast here coming up, right?
I will be. I'm due to be on their podcast beginning of next month.
They're looking to
Not
fix
sure
you.
Yes.
what the topic is yet, but I think it's some type of.
It's dating over 40. Single
Oh,
men dating over 40. We did an episode with the women giving their experiences about dating over 40. Now we want to tap into some men and get your guys' thoughts on
okay,
the trials and tribulations of dating over 40.
okay.
But Wood is 50.
He's still over 40.
So, first of all, I ain't 50 yet. Secondly, yeah, you could be doing an over 50 episode for me next year, but yeah, right now I'm still in that 40
Nothing
range.
wrong with being 50. I just celebrated 50 in August. So
All
nothing
Happy
wrong
right.
with being
belated.
50.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
See,
All right. Well, happy
50 and
belated.
fine. See, that's gonna be my new
Thank
mantra.
you.
Uh huh.
50 and fine. That's
There you,
right.
there you
Right.
go. See, hold it down.
Hmm.
So, Red, we
Yes,
um we brought you on here because you are a licensed therapist, right?
I am. I am. I have been a licensed therapist since 2016.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what made you choose that path for a career?
I kind of fell into it. I started out with my undergrad and history education. I did a little bit of substituting, but found that wasn't for me. And so my brother, he ended up owning like some back then it was mentoring, intensive in home here. It just got, and then he had group homes. So just got into it and really loved that field. Back in 2003, I went to pursue my master's degree, and I got that in about 2006. So working in the field, and it took me a long time to get it because I didn't really need it for what I wanted to do. Just still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But I knew I enjoyed helping people and just kind of wanted to do it on a different level. And therefore, I pursued my license, went to another school here, VCU, and got my postmaster certificate in rehab counseling so that I could get the additional internship hours and courses that I needed to become licensed.
Okay. So
did you give a lot of advice to your friends? Is that what made you even get into that?
You know, I am the one that they come and talk to, but you know, all of my friends, you know, we can kind of talk to each other. But now that I'm a professional, they come sometimes when they really need that help and support. But you know, I go to them as well.
Okay.
Well, maybe I could have been a counselor then, because I get people coming to me all the time too. You know, they say I'm a good listener, so you know, I don't know if I get good.
But that's part of being.
I listen well.
But see, actually, therapists, we don't give advice. We help people work through their own stuff. We are able to identify things and bring some things to the forefront that they may not see on the inside, but from the outside looking in, we can see a lot of different things. And a lot of times, you know, I always go back to that childhood because it really plays a part in who we are today. And any unresolved issues and trauma, they follow us. They bury down deep, but they come out in different things.
And I think sometimes we go through things and don't realize they are traumas, right? Because sometimes we think about traumas as being major, you know, incidents like death or some kind of abuse or, you know, infidelities that are major. But sometimes the smallest thing you could carry for years and it's a traumatic incident for you. You just didn't realize how traumatic it was until years later you're dealing with other stuff. You're like, you know what? Maybe it's because years ago, this one little thing has been bugging me and it's been bugging me and been bugging me. I never talked about it, you know. So, so yeah.
How do you crack that shell though? How do you go through all of that to say, okay, you know what happened to me when I was 5, 6, 7, or 10 is affecting me to this day?
You have to be open and you have to be transparent and you have to be able to trust and communicate. Like I wouldn't expect when I'm doing my biopsychosocial or my intake, when I ask questions about the background and history and abuse, I can tell by the response or reaction that I get if they are being truthful and honest about it. You know, you're reading the body language, you're reading facial expressions, and I don't push it. You know, I may say I recognize it, and if you don't want to talk about it today, that's fine. We can get into that at some other point. But you have to be open, and you have to want to do it. And a lot of the times we suppress things, and in our subconscious mind, we bury it, and you know, to the point where we don't remember a lot of things, especially if it happened when we were younger and it was extremely traumatic.
Yeah. We kind of go back to something you said about, you know, making the people do the work, right? So I heard somebody on another podcast say that he thought therapy was overrated, and his reason for saying that was he was saying people have made it where they want to go to somebody else to get to be repaired or help them figure out, but that person has to do the work themselves, you know. So, but I would rebut that with, yes, that person has to do the work, but sometimes you got to go to somebody else to have them help you reveal the issues to get you to show you how to do the work, because you could be struggling with something you don't know how to deal with it, and that's where a therapist can help you navigate that and help you do the work. You know,
correct, because there's no such thing as being totally transparent. And even when you were talking about yourself. Sometimes you're not going to express everything that you feel. It's just not, to me, it's just not realistic. And the therapist is more so to guide you, to give you another perspective, another way of looking at it. So if you only going by what you are thinking and your thoughts and your beliefs, and not getting any feedback or support or encouragement or whatever from a professional, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to remain stuck. It's very rarely do you have someone that has that aha moment and they figure things out, especially if they don't have those skills and the techniques to, to come on, because you may miss something. You're going to miss something, or you don't want to talk about that, or you don't want to address that, which could probably be the main source of your issues and your problems. We all have issues. We all have problems. We all have insecurities. We do. Mm-hmm. It's just human nature. And to say that you don't have any issues or problems, you're not being authentic and genuine.
I ain't got no issues.
Or you're not being authentic or genuine. If you live this life, you've experienced something. You've experienced hurt. You've experienced pain. You've experienced disappointment. You've experienced loss. You've experienced some not so great moments. And how you choose to deal with those things or process those things, it makes a huge difference.
Do you think hypnotherapy works?
I do. I'm a believer in it. I have not done it, and I'm not trained to do it, but as a therapist, I do believe in it. I do. Now, I ain't talking about no get out stuff where, you're doing it under the care of professional, under the care of a professional.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about the whole get out thing, but
I did too, but it's funny. I've always wondered if it works though, like because I do a lot of YouTube meditations, and some of it is like hypno meditation, and I'm like, it ain't working.
Have you ever?
And people pretty much use that. No, me, I'm not licensed to do that. And I think a lot of people, you have to be licensed and professionally trained to do that. And that's only recommended if you have some deep, deep trauma and that you've suppressed it and you don't remember it, and those kind of situations where I feel like the hypnosis is
to go on like
appropriate
and dig it out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, I mean, yeah, thinking about get out, and I thought about one of the things that we often talk about, especially on ours, is like how for generations, our community didn't really embrace therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even to go a step further, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was saying it's not just the black community. She says black men, because she said women have been getting therapy, but men have been the ones who resisted it. Do you agree with that?
I don't, because I have some people that, I mean, my mother, she wouldn't believe in therapy, and I'm like, oh. I used to kind of, when you hear people say that they don't believe in therapy, is mostly the main people that need the therapy. But, I kind of take offense to it because that's what I do. That's my profession. And I know that it's real. I know that it's effective, and I know that it helps. But I think it's generational. The older generation, a lot of them don't believe in the therapy. It's always, we're going to pray about it. Go to God, go to the Lord, and let's pray about it. But be like, God made therapists, so yeah. But men, I won't say that I don't believe that they don't believe in it. I think it's just a level of where you are emotionally, your emotional intelligence, and where you are in your life, and if you want genuine help. And a lot of our men, they don't trust. If you ask, hey, very few guys, who can you depend on, or who do you talk to help you through things? A lot of times men are not vulnerable enough to share what they really have going on in the inside, for fear of looking weak, for fear of looking like a punk, quote unquote. I don't like that word, but like just like not being a man, and all those kind of stuff. So I think that's a lot of reason why they don't do it either.
But
And then what?
isn't therapy like a newer age thing? I mean, we've always talked to people. I think that we talk to people, but a quote unquote therapist, isn't that like, hasn't that only been around since like maybe the 70s or 80s? As popular as
No,
it is.
there's it's been around for a while, but I do think that it's beginning to be like a fad at some point, getting therapy and everybody, using the terminology loosely. Anybody that's got a little mood swings or whatever, they bipolar, so like we do a lot of label, or anybody that's a little self-centered, they narcissist. A lot of times we tend to diagnose other people without, just based on one or two characteristics of a whole gamut of characteristics that will make this person this particular have this particular mental illness. But yeah, I think this new age thing, it is, you see a lot of our celebrities with mental illness, even people back in the day, the Albert Einstein, I hear he has some mental illness. A lot of people are able to function with their mental illness, with medication and treatment. You just don't know. But I think we're beginning to normalize it now with all of the school shootings and the mass killings and all of that stuff. We tend to label it, this person has a mental illness, and the stigma of mental illness, when some people are just bad people and evil people. Yeah.
And I think it's also become popular because of like television shows, radio shows.
Mm-hmm.
You have famous
Mm-hmm.
doctors, on the air giving, taking calls and giving their ideas and, all this kind of stuff. So I think that's why everybody thinks it's such a popular thing now, though it's been going on for years.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't embraced it, and some of us still haven't embraced it. You know, I think for men, I think we don't talk, period. It's like you said, being vulnerable is one thing, but we just like to keep things to ourselves most of the time and not even talk
Mm-hmm.
about it and just move,
Mm-hmm.
keep it moving, you know.
Right.
So
For for men, I feel like they have to be at a certain stage in their life, a certain level, or it's like it's a last resort. Whether it's I have to go to this anger management or get therapy in order to keep my job, to keep my marriage, because I'm like falling to pieces. It's like it's not, it should be used more as a preventative measure when you see things are getting to that point and you need some support. But most people tend to come when they're at rock bottom. And then you got so much work to do because you're at the stage. Whereas if you use it like, hey, you go to the doctor annual for your physical, or you go to the dentist or whatever, it should be part of your overall health and wellness, to make sure, hey, let me, I'm feeling a little blue. I got some things going on. I lost my job. I lost my parent, lost my child, or, this relationship is ending, I'm getting divorced. So those are like things that we, at that point where we say, oh, I need to talk to somebody, instead of doing it when you see things begin to be not in a good space.
But and I'll say this, even like when the times that I've been to a therapist, sometimes it's almost like you're getting help when it's almost too late.
Yeah,
Because
that's what I
sometimes,
just said. You rock
yeah,
bottom.
yeah, and it's like when I go there, I'm blah, 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 I'm just, everything comes out, and then
Okay,
you
Frank, like, this is
sometimes
one problem, there's two problems, there's three
I
problems,
know,
Like, what are we
God,
going to tackle first? What do we need to
right.
tackle first?
Now we
What's
need to
more
work it
important
all out.
now?
We want to work it all out, and
Yeah,
men, us as
yeah,
men, we want to work it all out in a session and just, like I'm fixed, and it's not like that.
exactly, exactly. And sometimes it takes that ongoing, just to kind of the checking in. Even once you get to a place where you are in a good space, it's always good to have those check-ins periodically, especially if you came from that rock bottom place.
yeah, no, I have a therapist, and I've told her I'm keep her home on standby.
Yeah.
Like I may not be going through no heavy stuff right now, but every now and then I may just need to just talk
Mhm.
to an unbiased, person about some stuff just
Mhm.
to get her
Mhm.
opinion versus, your parents or your boys, who may give you a biased opinion based on how they know you. So I think it's important to keep a relationship going with a therapist.
And let's be clear, therapy is not just when you have a problem, you have issues. We do vocational therapy. When you may be thinking about, hey, I'm kind of like in between like what I want to do. I just kind of need some help with, some vocational planning. It could be anything. It could be the family, stuff. It could be, it don't have to always be when you're at that point where you're ready to, you know, go off the edge or whatever. It could be for anything. I'm just overwhelmed. There's a lot going on in my life and I just need to, put some things in perspective. Help me to organize these things that I have going on. And it could be all good things, but you know, anxieties can be related to positive things as well as, a whole lot of things a whole lot of issues and problems that you have going on. It's not just when things are bad.
What do you have to, what are things that you have to report to authorities or whomever? So let give you an example. If I'm sitting on your couch and I'm saying, Red, I want to kill this dude. Do you have to report that? And
Yes, I have a duty to warn.
you gotta. So if I say I want to, or if I'm going to, or do we
Now,
try
if
to
you
work it
said
out?
you want, we try to work it out. If you say you want to, then we're gonna try to talk it out and work it out and kind of figure out why. Somebody tell me, oh, I'm feeling suicidal. Okay, let's try to work this out. Let's talk through this to see. We come up with a safety plan. We come up with those kind of things. And if it comes to the point where you need to be hospitalized or I need to warn this person, then we have to do that. But if
Mhm.
you tell me that you're going to kill this person and this is how you're going to do it and I don't do anything about it and then you do it, then I'm just as responsible because I didn't report it.
Hmm. So you do couples therapy as well, don't you?
I do.
Okay. So so just generally, have you ever had a couple that you've been counseling, and you just kind of decided, hey, you know what, guys, y'all need to just go ahead and break it up. Y'all been coming to me all this time,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah,
y'all
this
ain't
ain't
getting no
working.
better. Y'all got to split up.
Well, you can't tell somebody to split up. You just kind of like talk to them about their options. Like, what do you guys think about taking some space to figure things out? And if you take that space, this is what you're going to do with your space. And then after this space, you guys come together to figure out where do we go from here. And it's up to two people to decide.
Yeah, I'll be telling y'all need to get up out of here. Y'all
Mhm.
been on my couch
And
for
but
months.
Yeah,
I
but
love the
or
money.
you could get to the point. Yeah, or you can get to the point to say, listen, we've been working X amount of time, together. I don't see any changes. You know, the therapy relationship is not working. Therapy is not working for you guys. You may need to do something else, whether that's maybe find another therapist or get into some support groups or whatever the case may be. But sometimes you find people that is just not, working with.
Do you ever Dr. Phil anybody? You know how Dr. Phil comes and they're like, look, y'all just ridiculous.
That's that Charita
Um,
right there.
no, because that would be unprofessional. Um, a lot of things you got the Iyalas and you got the Dr. Fields and stuff. They're not operate well. Iyala is not licensed. She's a life
It's my
coach.
life.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's more of a life coach, but Dr. Phil is actually a psychologist. But I think because he's on that platform and these people sign this waiver, then that's something different. But if he was in his office talking one on one, he probably wouldn't say those things
So he
like
speaks
that.
more of his mind because it's TV, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for ratings and people sign the releases. So he can do different things that we're not able to do in the traditional therapist office.
Mm.
You can say this situation is ridiculous, but you can't call that person ridiculous. And you wouldn't even want to say that this is ridiculous, depending on the relationship and the rapport that you have with the client. Because they could report you that you are, being unethical, being unprofessional, and all of those things. Inappropriate.
So I was thinking about so family therapy, right? So say you have a couple and they split, they have children. We have couples counseling, we have individual counseling. What I don't think we have is like counseling to prepare you for when you do break up and have to be co-parents, right? There's no like transitional therapy to say, okay, you were a couple, same house, raising the children. Now you're not a couple. How can you transition in a positive manner, right? Because we have so many couples that struggle with that, right? Is there anything like that out there?
Yeah, we do. And ideally, if the couple knows that don't about just wake up and say, hey, we're getting a divorce. So they know that they're heading in that direction. Ideally, it would be like, let's get into counseling to help us work through this together as a family unit, as long as it's not getting ugly or messy. It just depends on the emotional maturity of the two adults and them making it about the kids and not about themselves. So if they really care about the kids and the kids' well-being, then they would start that planning early. Hey, this is what's going on. We know this is tough for you guys. So we're gonna do some family therapy to help us work through it. And whatever we have going on has nothing to do with you guys.
Well, how do you deal? I mean, what would you tell someone who is dealing with a difficult parent when it comes to raising their child? Because if I'm a person that's coming to you as a therapist and just really need some advice on what can I do to help this, Reed. I try to keep it real, but what can I do to help this motherfucker understand that they are really tripping?
I think in that situation, I think a mediator is probably the best bet. I would suggest or recommend a mediator and somebody that's neutral, somebody that's not. I don't feel like, oh, you just choose them because that's your mom or that's your brother or that's your pastor, whatever. But somebody that's neutral. And a lot of times with the kids here in Virginia, we have like what we call like casa workers, and we have garden ad litem. If you're getting to that point, then a kid could be assigned a garden ad litem to help with those things, to help with the mediation prior to court, to try to figure out how we can make this as peaceful as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, so when I got my divorce, they make you go through this like grace period, right, before you can finalize to make sure you're sure. I'm like,
Virginia too.
Let me sign now, but then there's also like I had to go through some kind of a little class on like parenting to get some kind of like sign off on that, like I'm like, okay, that's cool and all, but what really would have helped if you had somebody come in the room with both of us, like, look, okay, what y'all gonna have to do is manage it this way. But it wasn't. It was just like, you go, and y'all figure it out.
Yeah, y'all have to just take it by this certain date. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get mediators here, especially if it gets really ugly. You kind of have a mediator, and to kind of help work through visitation, to help work through custody, finances, all of those kind of things before you even get to that point. Divorce is tough, especially when you have kids and smaller kids at that. One thing they get into now is like a week with this parent and a week with that parent. And in that situation, the parents have to be on the same page, to kind of what we do here and what we do there, because children need consistency. Children need stability. They need to make sure that they need to know that you have their back, you're supporting them or whatever. So if I can run amok at mom's house and then come to dad's house and he's ruling with an iron fist, that's just too much confusion. So the parents have to work together. Hey, bedtime is 10 over here, it's 10 over here. You do these chores over here, you do these chores over there. So just having some kind of consistency between the two homes. And it takes two very mature people to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that sounds ideal. It does.
Then you also
Yeah,
have
ideal, right.
you got some parents that have different religious beliefs as well, though,
That's
and
true.
you know,
So that goes back to choosing your partner from the beginning. I
you
mean,
ain't
we
lying.
know religion plays a part, politics plays a part, just child rearing plays a part. We tend to raise our kids like we were raised
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And then sometimes we do the exact opposite if we didn't have a healthy childhood growing up. So, I mean, there's so many different facets to this thing. And, what I say is just do the best you can with what you got.
Is there one particular area or an area that you really focus on? Like if it's couples or if it's children or if it's, you know, one side or the other? Is it one specific area that you really focus on, Red?
Um, Not really. I see a lot of adults, some children, men, women, black, white, straight, gay,
Okay.
I've dealt with them all.
Okay. All right. I wanted to kind of go back to I wonder about why for us it has been like taboo to go to therapy, but I think for other cultures, they, they embrace therapy. They embrace a lot of things we don't embrace, right? It's just,
Not all of them. Not all of them. One thing that we have to do is we have to take that like the multicultural counseling. So we kind of have to know or be abreast on a person's beliefs.
mhm.
You could be a Muslim, you could be a Christian, you could be this, you could be Chinese, Japanese, or Asian. I'm sorry. Different things. I don't think we're as close to therapy as we used to be. I think it's
Mhm.
changing.
Okay.
Um, I think this pandemic
Yeah.
changed a lot. It brought a lot of issues to the surface that we may have not had time to think about because we're so busy, the hustle and bustle of the day, that we don't remember that we were abused as a child until we sit there and we're thinking about it, and we don't realize why we have anxiety because we haven't had time to. But once the pandemic happened, and everything kind of shut down, we kind of had to just be and just, those things that were dormant started to wake up, and we had to start dealing with them.
No, I
Did the
agree.
divorce rate go up after COVID?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
The Probably the divorce rate and probably the case of domestic violence too, because
Yeah,
Yes, domestic violence, alcoholism, drug overdoses, all of that stuff.
get this
I
crazy
mean,
ass person out of here. Get them out of my face. I'm ready. I'm ready to
mm-hmm,
go.
mm-hmm,
yeah, been too much
yep,
time cooped up with this person right now. I'm about to go crazy up
Mm.
in here.
yes.
No, I get it. I get it. Um,
And then the kids being out of school and the parents having to teach kids and do the school. And that was a lot. That was traumatizing for the kids, to parents too, and the kids. I mean, it was just a lot. Parents said, I may not be at a position where I can teach this child, or,
mm,
I may have a 6th or 7th grade education. How I look trying to,
mm,
help my kid. And I'm gonna tell you, they teach these kids a whole different way than what we were taught. The way they do division and multiplication. I'm like, what is that? I mean, it's just like I don't understand that. Let me do it the old fashioned way. We're gonna
Right.
get the same answer, but it's not gonna be this way.
I tell my daughter all the time, you better go ask the Googles because daddy
Yeah.
don't know.
Get you a tutor.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Like Joe can't figure it out.
You know what, Red? I do have one question though, and one thing that I noticed just personally about myself is, uh, not that necessarily that I suppress it, but it's just like I can remember some instances on in past relationships. I'm like, damn, this person just lied their ass off, and I can feel how I can see how it affected me. How do you overcome something like that? Because how do you even get to a be how do you overcome that to get into another loving into a loving relationship?
With the
And
trust
how do you
issue,
I
trust again?
the trust
well,
issue
I
you're
think
talking
just
about.
I think just understanding that people are gonna hurt you. You know, that's just life. I mean, whether it's intentional or unintentional. And, you know, at some point you learn to forgive and know that it's not about me. What you do is on you and it's not on me. It's not a reflection of me. You know, and I think just understanding that those people that operate like that and live like that, they battling their own demons. And a lot of times we try to get into relationships and things when we're not whole, we're not, you know, complete. We're not to that point where we feel good about ourselves, and we take those insecurities and issues into our relationships.
Mhm.
Um, how you overcome it? Just being patient, just being time, just understanding that, you know, and communicating. If somebody lie about something simple, you know, I say a lot of times that's the only way people know how to get their needs met. And we have to learn other ways to get our needs met without lying and manipulating and you know, doing all of those things to get our needs met when you could just ask. So I said just be patient with people, you know, don't everything that shouldn't have the same reaction. So if she lying about, hey, um, something simple as I'll be there at 8 and she don't get there till 9 or 9:30, as opposed to lying about something a little bit more serious, whether it's
I'm over my brother's house right now,
having a kid.
and you GPS say you over that dude's house.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right, something like that, then you have to weigh those lies. You
Yeah.
know, the first lie you could be like, listen, I'm a stickler for time. So if you say you're gonna be here at this time, I'm expecting you to be here at that time. So you have to communicate. It makes me feel this way when you are late and you don't communicate. Everybody runs late, but I ask that you communicate with me. A lot of times we just let things slide and we don't address it. A lot of times men and people are non-confrontational in their mind. Which you know, which causes them to suppress things until it builds up and they explode. A lot of times we just don't know. We gotta learn how to communicate from the smallest things. Yeah, my pet peeve is being late. I don't like waiting on people, and I don't like people waiting on me,
Yeah.
and I make that known. You know,
It just makes
yeah.
me
So
look
I
at
think
something. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I just think just for time and just kind of like just knowing setting your expectations. Listen, don't lie to me. I don't care what it is. You know, honesty is important to me.
Well,
So
I just
if
think
that's
it
not
looks at I look at some stuff like with the government and with exes, like as far as how I found out about lies and about the government and exes. I was like, how
did you
gullible is
say the government?
I said the government twice. I said it twice. Yeah, they didn't lie twice. They didn't lie. They
What did the
lied a lot.
government lie?
That's what he said.
But
The,
how did the government lie to you?
Yeah,
oh,
they
Lord.
lie. Government lying every day. Every day of anytime they open their mouth, they lie. Them lying
We ain't
ass
got
motherfuckers.
time for that right
Yeah,
now.
that's another
A
episode, Red.
whole
That's a big right.
that's a whole season. That ain't no
Yeah,
one episode. It's been a
Absolutely.
whole season
yeah.
of his battle
And
with
it
the government.
causes you not to trust them. We have a mistrust for the government,
Yeah.
but we handle it with a long hand spoon. Let me say, and we have a right to allow people to be in or out of our lives, depending on who it is. Some people, okay, like my kid, okay, well, I know I can't at some point, at least, I don't want to just push him to the side or discard them because of whatever, but you do set your limits and you do set your boundaries with people. And protect your peace, protect your space, protect your energy. And, we getting on up there in age, and that's important to us. Protecting our peace, finding our peace, protecting our energy.
It is important because Frank will be 60 in a minute next week, I think.
Me, I'm right behind you.
So you feels that way sometimes.
So let me ask you this, Red. Let me ask you our Hey Young World question, which is, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self and give her any advice, what would it be?
20 years old?
Yeah, your 20-year-old Red.
Oh.
She's out there running hot. What would you tell?
I know. These wheels are turning back to being 20. I would say I was in college then, and I think I answered this. I think just do a little bit more, engage a little bit more. I was kind of like the one that didn't do a lot there. I mean, I started to, like, after I graduated and, stuff like that. But 20, I was kind of still figuring out things and figuring out myself. But I would tell myself to be patient, enjoy life, yeah, and love on yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. Frank, you got your.
Who would you give your flowers to? Who has helped you along the way that you want to say thank you?
My mom and dad.
Mm-hmm. Very influential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You don't make you cry? Go ahead, cry. Let it out.
Yeah. My mom and dad. My dad he passed away in 2006. My mom is still here, but yeah, I would say them because they always supported us. My parents we always knew that we were loved, even though my childhood growing up, we dealt with some domestic violence. We dealt with some of those things, or experienced some of those things, but we always felt supported. We always felt love. Like we were important. Yeah. I could say my parents loved their children and they supported them.
But Red, it was a
the
pleasure.
Stuff that we deal with in our 50s. Yeah.
It was a pleasure having you on. We really appreciate you coming on our podcast, giving us some information on therapy. We all need it for sure. So
we do. And one thing I will say is, if you get to the point where, or if a person gets to a point, the listeners, that you feel like you want or feel like you need therapy, give it a shot. But that first therapist may not be the match for you, and that's okay. Then you have to move to the next therapist, with that you will have a better working relationship with, somebody that you feel like they can understand you. And be specific about what type of therapist you want. If I want an African American female, I want an African American male, I want a Caucasian male, I want a Caucasian female, Asian, whatever, or it doesn't matter. Or I want somebody that's Christian based, or I want somebody that's this. So be specific with your search for your therapist to get the right fit. And then with that, find the right personality that works with you.
If somebody,
so the first or second or third therapist may not work, but if you really need this help and support, it's like a trial and error period.
If somebody's in need of your services, Red, where they find you at? Is it a site they can go to specifically to find you or to look at?
I'm on Psychology Today, working on my website. I know I need to do better than that, but I'm on Psychology Today. I'm only licensed in the state of Virginia right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But someone in another state couldn't call you and do a video conference or anything?
They could, but they probably could. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Frank will call you later.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, Frank called me. Yes. He'll call me.
okay. But again, it was a pleasure. We appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It was fun. It was fun. I appreciate it.
So for those,
All
you
right.
said it earlier, but for those that don't know, it's from the Inspire Her Total Woman podcast. Available on all platforms out there. You guys on YouTube now too, or no?
Yes, we are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, Podbean,
All right.
everywhere.
All right.
So for all you man
Facebook.
haters who want to listen to a woman podcast, listen to the Inspire Her podcast.
Hold on, we do not bash men. We love our men.
It ain't
No,
just
this
inspire
this
her;
is
it's inspired him too. But they actually,
It's fun.
it's inspire her. Yeah, I get
Right.
it. It's
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 geared towards
actually
women.
it's a really really good podcast. I enjoy it. I enjoy listening to
yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
it.
We try.
Well, with that, we're gonna get out of here. So, thank you, Red, Big
You
Frank.
are welcome.
Would do you good.
All right, we out.
Bye, Frank. Good time. All
Bye,
right.
Red.
Move on.
Bye.